without physically cracking its carbonized layers. This is already light years above my pay grade. Who is Luke Ferriter? That's the question that no one is asking. Well, he's one of 6 of the young men that Elon Musk has hired into Doge to uncover all of the waste, fraud, and abuse that we see that our federal government has been doing with our tax dollars. And while the left are staging these fake protests and crying like toddlers because they're scared of what's going to be found, and they're also terrified of their piggy bank finally being cut off, they are, they're doing these things, screaming and crying, and they're also trying to dox these young men, saying that they're not qualified, that they're, how do we know what they're doing? How do we know that they're smart enough to do all of this? Just foolishness. But no one's actually dug into why these 6 individuals in particular were chosen for this role. It's the most important job right now going on in our government. And not only that, they're all really young. So Luke Ferriter, who is 23 years old, I dug into, more about him, and you are not going to believe what I found. Take a look at this video.
So I've always been interested in history. Growing up, I learned Latin. I was never that good at it, but I was always kind of into that sort of stuff, read a lot about the Roman Empire and things. And one day I was just listening to a podcast back in March. It was with Nat Friedman. He just kind of got on the podcast, explained like there are these burnt up scrolls that were buried in the Pompeii eruption. No one knows how to read them. But some professors have created CT scans of these scrolls, and they uploaded the data on the internet as a competition to see who could find writing inside of these scrolls. And when I heard that, I was just immediately like, oh my goodness, this is such a cool project. I have to work on this. I just went home from work that day at the end of the day, and I've been working on it evenings and weekends ever since. I run most of the things from my laptop. It's just a normal MacBook, don't worry. But then I've just got like 5 surplus computers in here. This is what I do most of my work from. The Rake School and just the University of Nebraska as a whole has provided a great educational background where I can then, take these skills that I've learned and apply them to problems like this. I just spend hours upon hours staring at flattened pieces of the scroll like this, trying to find these patterns, which are part of the writing. At the start of the challenge, we had not been able to find any writing at all within these scrolls. There are hundreds of these scrolls that are from the mansion. We've scanned a couple of them, and no one had been able to find any writing in them using these methods. Late one Saturday night, I was sitting at a party at a friend's house in Omaha, and I get a text from another person on the challenge team, and he says, hey, I've just uploaded this new kind of piece of the scroll. You should take a look at it. I remotely access my computer. I type into it like, please run the algorithm on this new piece of scroll. And then I just kind of started. I pull out my phone again, just nonchalantly like, hey, I wonder how that went. And there are 3 Greek letters on the screen, letters I'd never seen before. It was really cool because it's like, oh my goodness, like we actually detected new writing in the scrolls using AI. That was the moment I realized like this is actually going to work. Like we're probably going to read the scrolls. And I completely freaked out. My friends were there and I was cheering, jumping up and down, screaming, crying, all the stuff. I, took a picture of the results and I sent them to my mom. She called me and she's like, hey, these look great, It was a really special moment. Yeah, so this is the word that I actually found. It's right here. It's the word prophoros, which translates to purple. It's the first word we found in the scrolls. It was reviewed by a committee of kind of Greek scholars, but it's the word purple. And I'm glad it's not the word in or the or and that we found first. We actually found a word that has meaning. This would not be possible without modern AI and modern scanning techniques. People have wanted to read these books for hundreds of years, and this seems like the only way where it's really possible to do that. Now we're reading entire paragraphs from the scrolls, and hopefully we'll be able to read the entire book and read the hundreds of other books that were buried in this condition as well. When we found this first word, we went public with it, and I think everyone has been very pleasantly surprised by the amount of attention it's gotten. As a college student, it's definitely been overwhelming in the best way possible, but it's been really cool to get to kind of, talk about my findings and, share what I want to do in the future with so many people. So it's been overwhelming in the best possible way. The University of Nebraska does a really good job of encouraging their students to think boldly, and I think that's played a pivotal role in my work on this project.
So that's right. He was able to write the code and figure out a way to get AI to detect the actual words in ancient scrolls that no one else has been able to do for hundreds of years. Let me give you more details on this genius young man. How a DOGE engineer and former SpaceX intern used AI to decode some of history's oldest sealed scrolls. Before he joined the White House's new Department of Government Efficiency, 23-year-old engineer and former SpaceX software intern Luke Ferriter was already making waves in digital archaeology. In 2023, he helped lead the grand prize-winning team with the Vesuvius Challenge, netting a portion of a $700,000 payout by using state-of-the-art auto segmentation algorithms to virtually unroll a fragile Herculean scroll without physically cracking its carbonized layers. This is already light years above my pay grade. That's what they say in the government. If you guys don't know, right? Everyone in my family has worked for the federal government. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. I spent my childhood in the Pentagon where my mother worked. And it was even at the Pentagon on 9/11. Yes. Okay. So they always say it's above my pay grade. That's actually where that saying comes from. It's just amazing what AI can do. It says the Musk Foundation is among the biggest financial backers of the Vesuvius Challenge, whose partners include Getty and the Google data science subsidiary Kaggle. According to the Wall Street Journal article published on February 9th, 2024, the contest was launched by investors and scholars hoping to spur breakthroughs in reading these carbonized scrolls. It ultimately drew more than 3,000 competitors, including college students, software engineers, and AI researchers, all aiming to unearth text lost for nearly 2,000 years. 2 years after virtually unrolling a scorched Herculean scroll, along with Yusuf Nader and Julian Schillinger, 23-year-old software whiz and Thiel fellow Luke Ferriter is once again in the spotlight, this time for his involvement at DOGE, reportedly receiving access to the Department of Energy's IT system and listed as an engineer in the DOE's staff directory. And to give you a little bit more, just to add more context, it says Ferriter, who is among the young engineers hired to work at DOGE, according to reports from the New York Times and Wired magazine. The Times said Ferriter is a former intern at Musk's SpaceX, who is now listed as an executive engineer in the Office of Secretary of Health and Human Services. He was given access to U.S. agencies for internal development systems and requested access to Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services systems responsible for contracts, the Times reported. So instead of celebrating this young man and having this young genius who did this on DOGE's team to unearth the mess that is our federal government, you have people on the left wanting to dox and it's unqualified, and this doesn't make sense. Listen to this. Former presidential candidate Marianne Williamson said on X, Elon Musk seized control of our federal computer systems, so he and his team of 6 engineers, age 19 to 24, can simply decide for themselves what they think the government should and should not do. They keep what they think should be kept and simply delete what they want to delete. Really? Do you have evidence of them deleting anything? Again, a lot of defamation is going around, as I see on X especially. But there are people who also support him because it makes sense. What does age have to do with anything? like we need young people who are smart like this working in our government instead of the decrepit old bureaucrats like 109-year-old Maxine Waters out there cussing and fighting and saying that she's going to fight Elon Musk. Ma'am, sit down. Um, Nick Bednar of the University of Minnesota, law professor, told Wired, to the extent that these individuals are exercising what would be relatively significant managerial control over two very large agencies that deal with very complex topics, it's very unlikely they have the expertise to understand either the law or the administrative needs that surround these agencies. Well, Nick Bednar of the University of Minnesota, you can kiss his A, because he's more qualified than you ever will be. That's why you're off being a professor at the University of Minnesota, and he's achieving great things not only in science and AI, but for us, the American people. Evan Conrad, a co-founder of the San Francisco Compute Co., said, "I can't imagine a way to more convince tech to not be on your side than to bully a young genius who has volunteered for this country. I am quite anti-Trump, but I am incredibly Luke Farrader." Shocking, right? Richard Hania, president of the Center of Study of Partisanship and Ideology, said on X, "Luke Farrader seems more qualified to audit the work of the government bureaucrat." So it says Luke seems more qualified. So absolutely. And talking about, guys, you hear my dog. And talking about, big tech, Hakeem Jeffries, aka Timu Obama, has gone off to Silicon Valley to beg all of these tech companies to come back to the Democrat side, begging on his knees after he said that Democrats have no leverage. This is why you see them lashing out and grasping at straws, desperate in an attempt to make Trump look bad, trying to divert attention, I guess, from the work of the people, but they're not able to do anything. And Silicon Valley, these tech companies, by and large, have rejected the Democrats, not only for their woke ideology, but how they have used their government power to censor and control and even debank them. We heard that from Mark Andreessen. He posted it on X, but it also was on Joe Rogan's show. So I just wanted to share this because we need to understand, if you're one of these 6 young men, that means you are more than capable to do this job. And all the data information that's coming out shows just that. Now, guys, if you want to support the show, you can, I have my Cash App link below, as well as all my social media, but you also can go to my shop, my merch shop at realmelanieking.com. The link will also be below in the description box, but I have a ton of different things that you can choose from. We have some new things that we've just posted, but I just want to show you. We have this one that says, science that can't be questioned is propaganda. And then, of course, my redacted government document, everything is fine. Trust the government. And then the media, all they do is tell lies, the most effective devil in America. So I have things like that you can check out in sweatshirts, hoodies, short sleeves, long sleeves, mugs, you name it, we have it there. So if you want to support us, you can go to realmelanieking.com and pick up some merch today. And with that, I'll see you on the next one.